don't update that watt hour total, this system doesn't know what's hooked to it. It'll still work because I think these are kind of redundant. I don't think it has all the fancy stuff that BLUETTI and EcoFlow have with all the computerized, communications and all that. I don't know. I've never opened one, but it seems like it's very redundant. Kind of like if you just strung a bunch of car batteries together and put an inverter on there, the inverter's going to run until the power's not there, until the voltage drops under a certain amount. No matter what you have hooked to it, it's going to run until it's dead. And I think that's kind of how these work. Maybe there's communication devices in there, but I don't see anything. There's no apps or anything, so you really don't know what's going on in this model unless you rip it apart. And I'm not doing that. I'm gonna leave that to the pros, the guys on the internet. I just wanted to do an updated video because someone had mentioned on this channel on the last video that I put up that somebody could accidentally go into this hidden menu and make a mistake and change one of the values in there and screw up their system. So I wanted to do an update. I'm going to reset my whole machine so you can see, and I also listed on the last video the default values of how it comes from PECRON. So just in case you change a value by accident, because there's a long press and a short press on both of these buttons. Otherwise it's extremely simple. There's only 2 buttons. So you have 2 buttons, 2 style of presses on either button, which means you have 4 options on each menu, which is short press, which changes the value, and long press on the AC on the bottom one goes to the next menu. So there's really only 3, I guess. So I'll do it again. When you enter this, it shuts down the inverters while you're in the menu, and then obviously they kick back on. So it's not like you hurt it or break it or anything. You're just kind of pausing the system and then going into the system. Kind of like if, in your car, you would turn off the key, you change something in the engine, and then you turn it back on. You don't want to leave it on while you're, tinkering in the engine. Probably, I don't know, it's probably not a good idea, not smart, especially with electrical stuff. So I'm going to hold on these buttons again. You're going to see the wire screen flash, and then you hit the AC 2 times real fast. So let's do that. Let's hold it down. The screen gets brighter. The screen flashes. You hit this twice. It goes into the first menu. Now, menu 1, 2, and 3 is all numbers that you should not change. It's all variables as far as how the system works and talks or whatever it does behind the scenes. Don't change it. The first one is 10. I'll even give you the values on the video so you can actually see them. Like I said, I listed them on the other video, but 10 volts, I don't even know. I read the manual, but I forgot what it means. It is listed in the updated manual. So you can either change that. You see I change it to 11. I change it to 9 by short clicks. So you want to keep that at 10. I think that's extremely important because that's how they set it. And they're the scientists, they're the engineers, they're the electronical guys. I don't know if electronical is even a word, but anyway, they're the guys who set it up, so don't mess with it. So then you have up or down with its short clicks, and then the AC is a long click, and you go to menu number 2. Now, this 1584, I might have misspoken in the last video. This, I was told by PECRON, is the calibration of the something with the max amount of power that it should draw when it's on idle or I don't know. It's very confusing because, like I said, I'm not an electronics guy. I'm learning as quick as I can. I've only been doing this maybe a year. So the stock number is 1,670. So don't change this, okay? Just leave it. Whatever yours says, I guess it recalibrates every single time you reset the system. So even if you change this one, it goes back to default. 1670 was my default. I hooked up the batteries, it dropped to 1584, and I think that is a load limit so it doesn't overheat these little 2 fuses that are on the side. So it's something, it knows what it's doing, obviously, so don't change it. If you do, don't worry, it'll reset when you reset the system. And then you hold the AC again for 2 seconds, and you'll see the 10. I believe that's, well, it doesn't matter. 1, 2, and 3 menu don't change. Just leave it be. It's menu number 4 you have to change. So when you go to menu number 4, you can see mine is at 8,064 again. So notice that by the short clicks, you can change this. See this? So you can change that to whatever you want. 8,064. So you have your starting point and your ending point, and if the system doesn't understand what your starting and ending point is. Like, you know, the alphabet A to Z, if you take out A, B, and C, it's no longer an alphabet because it doesn't understand. 3 letters are missing, so obviously you can't spell certain words. I know that's different, but that's kind of how this works. If you don't have a starting and ending point, it's useless to this power meter because it doesn't understand, because the power is more or less than what you told the meter, so it's confused. So you know, like I said, you just go like that, and then you short press the bottom and see how you can change them. So it's very simple, very simple. 8,000 at 64. So all you do is you just keep tapping until you get to that. Simple, right? That's simple. But I didn't explain that fully in the last video, and I think that's important. So you hold down the AC. Number 5 is the level 3, which is the brightness. So if you click down, you see how the screen kind of dims. That's it. That's all that menu seems to do. I leave it on 3. I like it bright, and then it dims obviously when it idles. So that's great for the daytime. You can see the sucker outside. So you hold on the AC again. It goes to 6. This is the amount of hours that the system will idle before it automatically turns off. We leave it on all the time. We turn off by ourselves. But you can change it by simply clicking the top one or the bottom one. You know, the short clicks, as you can see. That's how many hours until the system shuts down to save power. So we leave it off, obviously, because we don't need it. We don't use it. So you hold this again. 22 volts. I explained in the last video. I was told by PECRON this is the cutoff to save the cells from discharging too far. 22 volts is the absolute bottom, and then the system goes into a shutdown. Whether you like it or not, it stays off until you start charging it to protect the system and the batteries and the cells. And then once you hit this last one, it'll say EEP. So you hold that down, it'll say EEP, reset, turn the inverter back on. You heard the fan kick on. The beeps tell you it's like almost like a startup on a system. Like if you have, you start your car and you hear the beeps, that's all the tests. You can see the spike, obviously, because we had it off for a few minutes. I believe that is the fridge and the freezer kicking on at the same time. You saw it go up to, like, I don't know, 600, 700, 800 watts. And then obviously that's both of them running. I think the fridge is 80 watts, and I believe the fridge is 50 watts. And then as the compressor heats up and gets more going, you'll see this number start to slowly drop. See, there it just dropped. There it's dropping. But a compressor is kind of like an idle on a car. It'll idle high to warm the car up, and then it'll kind of calm down. It's to get the system, going. Like if you were to run and then slow down, and then you can idle like a marathon runner would. I can't think of anything else I want to give as much information, because there's no videos literally on these other than a few reviews. The manual, I think, was a bad release because they made a lot of oopsies by not putting the menu part in either a video or I mean, they don't even have it on PECRON's website. So it's like or the YouTube. I found this by accident. I literally was messing with the buttons, and I pushed the buttons, and this flashed, and I was like, what the hell is that? So I messaged PECRON. I said, why is this wire frame flash when I hold these buttons down? And they said, that's a hidden menu. We're going to let everybody know later when you get the batteries, how to set your machine for the batteries. And I'm like, oh my God, you didn't put it in the manual. So a lot of people are out there probably complaining, and I don't want to see that. Our RV community is a cool community. So if I can help other people or the van life people, cool community, I want to help them out. I don't know if I said before that these lights on the batteries, how they're green, that means they're balanced. If they're red, they're unbalanced, then they need time to kind of sync together. But I just wanted to make this video because a fella had mentioned on the last video that I made that I should warn people, if you change these darn values, this might not work the same, or something might be different. I think that was even more important information than the hidden video itself, or the hidden menu, because if you change something, obviously you could screw up something. But as long as you leave everything alone and just change menu 4, then you'll be fine. And then once you change the menu 4, what we did is we turned off the machine, turn it back on so it can kind of get a fresh start. And then we had all 3 batteries charged up to 100%. Then we put on the small little charger, which I really don't like these. They're loud and inefficient. It pulls about 640 watts from the wall, and you get about 550-ish, 540 actual input on the unit, so that you're losing 100 watts. I'm a solar guy. I don't like power bricks, but the power brick is there for just in case, like today, the sun was crap. 1,000 watts of solar, I'm bringing in just under 300 watts on average. It's terrible.